Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. This is Alicia here. Thank you for stopping by. So as you can see from the title of this video, it is a two-part video. It's a Barnes & Noble book haul, and it's also going to show you how I select books based off of the cover, the title, and the author, because I don't read synopsis. I've learned in my reading journey that when I read a synopsis, I come in with high expectations or just certain ways of how I expect the book to play out. And so when the book doesn't play out that way, I'm discouraged. I don't like the book. And so I've just learned to not read the synopsis and just go in blindly, and I've had a better reading experience that way. Also, what you will find in this video is I'm going to split this up into two sections. Because I don't read the synopsis, I'm going to have a segment where I'm not reading the synopsis for you, and then I will let you know when I am reading the synopsis so that you can skip ahead. So if you want to skip to where I'm actually showing the books and reading the synopsis, I will put the time here, or you can look down in the description box and it'll have the chapters for you. I have 16 books that we are going to cover today. So if you've seen my last Barnes & Noble vlog, you will see that I have purchased some books there. I did a read a chapter and talked about it there. So by all means, check that video out too. I will link it in the cards right now. But since that day, I've went back to Barnes & Noble and I have purchased all these books. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get to it. So the first book is Octavia E. Butler, Parable of the Sower. The reason why I picked this book up was, for one, I like Octavia's writing and I like some of her books. And then for two, what I've been hearing about this book is that even though this was written so long ago, it's talking about things that are happening right now. And so that really sparked my curiosity. And I wanted to get into this. I'm one where I don't read a book right when it's hyped up or right when it's the most popular. I like to let it settle and read some other books because I am a mood reader. But this is why I picked this one up. And so because I picked this one up, I had to pick up the second book, which is Parable of the Talents. And so I like to get books, especially if it's a series, I like to get the series right then and there. I don't like to wait. And so that's why I picked this one up. So I don't really much know anything about what's going on in this book, obviously, because I didn't read the synopsis. But I only picked this one up because it's part of a series. Now, if you did see my Barnes & Noble vlog, then you would already be familiar with this book. I picked this book up. In that vlog, I read the first chapter of it and I enjoyed it, and so that's what made me really purchase it. But what gravitated me towards this is the cover itself. Get into this cover. This cover is beautiful. I enjoy spooky tales for young readers. I'm a scaredy cat, and I spoke about this in the other vlog as well, like some young readers YA books that scared me. I put that in the video. It doesn't seem like they're like scary. It seems like they're trying to pass over on the other side. And so that is why I picked this book up based off of the cover. And it seems interesting. You have a black little boy who seems to be fighting spirits. So why not? Then I'm a thriller girl by nature. Even though I say I'm a mood reader, I love thriller books. And so this right here, Girl Forgotten, this looked really interesting. Just the cover itself, something about audio. Clearly it's a girl that has been forgotten. This makes me think of Tiffany D. Jackson's Monday's Not Coming. And so on the cover itself, this little blurb right here, it says, would you dig up the past if it meant you might die in the present? So that's interesting. A little bit of time traveling, perhaps, based off of just that one line. Like I said, I didn't read this synopsis. And so I'm just going off of this one line, what the cover looks like, the title. I've never heard of April Henry. So can't really say much about her, so I'm literally just going off of the cover. I also have The Surrogate Mother. So Frida McFadden, I'm very familiar with the author and her writing. And so I was just like, oh, The Surrogate Mother got to be interesting. I know with Frida McFadden, there's some books that I have DNF'd or that I just didn't like. But majority of her catalog, I really enjoy. I love the plot twist. I love the fact that you think you know what's going on, or you think you know who did what, and then when you get to it, it's completely opposite. And so I'm just curious to see what she would do with A Surrogate Mother, how she would make it a thriller. And that's basically all that I have to go off of based off of this cover. Next book is Sometimes I Lie. And I have this, it's supposed to be a bookmark, but it's just like this little flower that I got from Barnes & Noble. Apparently, I must have started reading a few of the first chapter, but I don't remember it, so I might have to start over anyways. But it's Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I've read Rock, Paper, Scissors by her, and so I enjoyed that book. I enjoyed that twist of it, and so I'm like, oh, this might be interesting. This is a woman falling, and so I am curious to see what this will be about. Then Barnes & Noble had a sale going on when they were giving out, I think, 50% off on their hardcover books. And so that's why I got this. It's On Again, Awkward Again. And it seems to be two teenagers, might be a love story. Not sure, not quite sure what it is. Never really heard of these authors. And so I just like the comic book like cover. And it's always fun when you have a story about an awkward person and they're trying to date. And so that's why I picked this up. And then because it was 50% off, grabbed it. This book has been the talk of the town as well. And it's Death of the Author by Nnedi Okorafor. Anybody that knows her knows she's done a lot of good books. She has some other books that are coming out. She did the Akata Witch. She did the Binti. I didn't really like the Binti. I read the first book, and so I didn't finish the series. But I didn't really like the Binti book. But the Akata Witch I loved. I still got to finish that series. And she just has so many different other books. And so this one, I was listening to the audio at one point and reading along with it, but I want to devote all my attention to this book when I get into it, because usually when I'm reading a book, I have maybe 2 or 3 books going at a time. But with this one, it was grueling me, and so I feel like I need to just only read this book solely. And so I'm trying to knock out some other books first and then just only read this one. So that's why I have my another bookmark there. But yes, bought this book because I'm already familiar with the author, and Death of the Author is an interesting title. And so I love the spray edges, and I had got this for 50% off as well when Barnes & Noble was doing their sale. So in my Barnes & Noble video that I've discussed 11 times now, this is another book that I got. The reason that I was interested in this book was just this kind of gargoyle flying creature, and you have 2 kids at the bottom. For some reason, I was in a young reader's kick, and so that's why I picked this one and that other one about the little boy and ghost. But I thought this was really interesting. I read the first chapter of this one in the Barnes & Noble vlog, and I enjoyed it, and so curious to see what else this is about. The next book is The Best Man, Unfinished Business. So obviously I've read all of the 3 movies that came out regarding The Best Man, and so kind of already familiar with the storyline. And so I do, in a way, like to read a book and then watch the movie, or watch the movie and then read a book. And so I'm kind of curious to see how the movie and the book translate with each other. It's Unfinished Business, which is the book that I don't remember the character's name, but the Taye Diggs, his character, he wrote a book that calls the whole ordeal between his best friend and the woman that he was getting married to. Morris Chestnut is the best friend, and then who he married. And so I'm just curious to see what this is, how this plays into the movie. I did read a few chapters of this, but I kept comparing it to the movie. And so I said, okay, I need to stop doing that, because I'm now having more expectations on this, and I want to give this the full strength of what it's supposed to be outside of the movie. And so that's what that is. But that's why I picked this one up. Already familiar with the movie, so just curiosity. Next book is The Secret Library. I thought this was pretty cute. I enjoy books where it comes about a secret library or a secret society, something that's going on in an academy, stuff like that I'm intrigued with. And so this really just captured me. It's a pretty young girl on the cover, secret library. What could that be? This kind of made me think of Chronicles of Narnia. And so I'm like, interesting. Let's just see what's going on in this secret library. So for those who know me know I love Disney. I love fairy tales. I've written, obviously, a fairy tale retelling series of Once Upon an Erotica Fairy Tale. I've written Cave of Jinn, which is about Aladdin. I've written Going Down the Bayou, which is the Princess and the Frog retelling. I also have a snippet spin-off of the Cave of Jinn, where it's Treasure and Klepto's Bayou Heat. It's just a filthy fairy tale, and I'll link all this down in the comments below. But I bought this, which is the Snow White and the Dragon and Sleeping Beauty and the Seven Dwarfs Princess Swap. So I thought this was very interesting. It's basically Snow White and Sleeping Beauty switch places. And so I'm curious to see how Snow White will be in the Sleeping Beauty world and how Sleeping Beauty will be in the Snow White world. And so that's really what captured me with this book. And it seems on the back too that they have another princess swap. And so if I enjoy this book, and it has also sprayed edges, if you can see, which is cute. It has the red and then it goes into the purple, which I think is really cute. But if I enjoy this, then I may read the next book, that of the princess swap. But yep, fairy tale retelling, princesses swapping lives. Very intrigued by that. This other one is All the Blues in the Sky by Renee Watson, and I believe Renee had written, I'm sure I read a book by hers already. I want to say, does she have her? Yes, Love is a Revolution. Love is a Revolution she wrote. And then she also wrote Watch Us Rise, which I have that book, but I haven't read it yet. But I loved Love is a Resolution. And so I'm already familiar with her writing style. And so when I saw this one, All the Blues in the Sky, I said I had to pick it up. Seems interesting. Seems like it's probably a YA where this little girl's, the whole world is probably on her shoulders. And how she navigates through her young adulthood. That's just what I'm assuming. But yeah, I loved it. And this is a hardback, so I had got this on sale as well during Barnes & Noble's sale that they had for the 50% off on all hardcovers. Next one is A Strange Thing Happened in Cherry Hall. So like I said with the Silent Library or Secret Library, I love books like this where it's these kids that are discovering something that's hidden or secret, and they have to figure out what's going on. For some reason, I just love these types of books. These books I read during a time when I'm having a reading slump, or if I'm just so engrossed in thriller or so engrossed in YA and I want something that's very short, easy, and can get me back into this reading momentum, then I will pick up like a young reader book because it's easy to follow, it's easy read, and yeah. So that's what this is. I enjoy the cover. The cover is nice, beautiful, and so that's why I picked up this book. Never heard of Jasmine Warga. Hopefully I said that right. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. I have 2 more books left, okay? We're almost there. We're almost there. So next book is Fair and Sinister Heart by Lauren Blackwood. So it's a Snow White retelling. And I just feel like it's pretty explanatory, like the Princess Swap. I love Disney. I love reading about fairy tale retellings. I love to see how people twist a story that we all know and change it up a little bit to make it even more interesting. And so that's why I picked this one up. And then the last book is Spectacular. So this is part of a Caraval series. And so I think I've only just read Caraval, because I know there's Caraval, Legendary, and Finale. And I enjoyed Caraval, that I've read that probably 3 times already. I really enjoyed that book, and I just haven't finished that series. And so I got this book because this is the last book of the series. And so I had to just add it to the collection. But Caraval is very, very good. As a matter of fact, I may start picking that up. The second one, which is Legendary, I may pick that one up soon, because that series that I do want to get through that series. There's a lot of series that I need to get through, and so that might be a video that I make as far as the series that I'm in the middle of and getting through those series. So if you're interested in that, leave a comment below so that I know that there's interest there, and I can definitely make and show you what other series that I have. But Spectacular, I love Christmas. Christmas is one of my favorite holidays, and so curious to see. So obviously I don't know much about how the series played out, but I'm going to read them, and then I will get to this holiday special book. Now I'm going to read the synopsis of each. So bear with me as we get that going. So you have time now to click off if you don't want to hear about the synopsis, but here we go. So, Parable of the Sower, Octavia E. Butler. When global climate change and economic crisis led to social chaos in the early 2020s, California becomes full of dangers, from pervasive water shortage to masses of vagabonds who will do anything to live to see another day. 15-year-old Lauren lives inside a gated community with her preacher father, family, and neighbors, sheltered from the surrounding anarchy. In a society where any vulnerability is a risk, she suffers from hyper-empathy, a debilitating sensitivity to others' emotions. Precocious and clear-eyed, Lauren must make her voice heard in order to protect her loved ones from the imminent disasters her small community stubbornly ignores. But what begins as a fight for survival soon leads to something much more: the birth of a new faith and a startling vision of human destiny. So that's Parable of the Sower. Parable of the Talents. In 2032, Lauren has survived the destruction of her home and family and realized her vision of a peaceful community in Northern California based on her newly founded faith, Earthseed. The fledgling group provides refuge for outcasts facing persecution after the election of an ultra-conservative president who vows to make America great again. In an increasingly divided and dangerous nation, Lauren's submersive colony, a minority religious faction led by a black woman, becomes a target for President Jarrett's reign of terror and oppression. Years later, Asha Ver reads the journals of a mother she never knew, Lauren. As she searches for answers about her own past, she also struggles to reconcile with the legacy of a mother caught between her duty to her chosen family and her calling to lead humankind into a better future. So I think this is where they were saying that things that were happening in this book correlates to what's going on now, because the slogan, Make America Great Again, we all know whose presidential slogan that was. So interesting to get into these two. That's Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents. Next one is The Fall of the House of Tatterley. All right. 12-year-old Theo ability to see ghosts is an extremely useful skill in a house full of family, alive and dead, at school and everywhere else. He's a loner, unless you count the spirits constantly pestering him for help. For Theo, life is easier on the sidelines, but after a run-in with a mysterious soul-stealing spirit and the possible, maybe fated destruction of his entire family line, it's clear Theo can't stay benched much longer. He can feel the angry spirit closing in. But Theo is nothing if not well equipped. He's got his snake Rupert, some dope basketball skills, and as always, his family. Will they be enough to help him sink the shot and put the evil spirits to rest? So that's true because, like I said, I read the first chapter, and in the first chapter, there was a spirit that kind of contacted him and was showing the death of him. It was like a child. And so he was wanting help to move on. And so that's interesting, right? So it might be a little spooky. Hopefully I don't have to keep the lights on and keep all the doors open. But I'm excited to read this one. This is interesting too by me reading these. Because like I said, I haven't read any of these synopses. So now reading it with y'all, I'm like, oh, this do sound interesting. So I may end up picking some of these up sooner rather than later. Next book is Girl Forgotten. 17 years ago, Layla was murdered and her killer was never found. Enter true crime fan Piper Gray, who is determined to reopen Layla's case and get some answers. With the help of Jonas, who has a secret of his own, Piper starts a podcast investigating Layla's murder. But as she digs deeper into the mysteries of the past, Piper begins receiving anonymous threats telling her to back off the investigation or else. The killer is still out there and Piper must uncover their identity before they silence her forever. So that's very interesting. So basically a cold case and she's trying to figure out who did it, why, but whoever's listening to her podcast is like, okay, you're opening up doors that doesn't need to be opened. And so that is very interesting. And that's not even it's not a big book, and so I know I could get through this within a week. The next one is The Unwanteds. Every year in Quail, 13-year-olds are sorted into categories. The strong, intelligent wanteds go to university, and the artistic, unwanteds, are sent to their graves. On the day of purge, identical twins Alex and Aaron Stowe await their fate. While Aaron is helpful of becoming a wanted, Alex knows his chances are slim. He's been caught drawn with a stick in the dirt, and in the stark gray land of Quell, being creative is a death sentence. But when Alex and the other unwanteds face the eliminators, they discover an eccentric magician named Mr. Today and his hidden world that exists to save the condemned children. Arteme is a colorful place of talking statues, uncommon creatures, and artistic magic where creativity is considered a gift and a weapon. So that seems really, really interesting. That just reminded me about the first chapter about the twins, but from the synopsis, it seems as if there's going to be the wanted and the unwanted war going on or battle going on. And yeah, interested in this. Okay, now we have Fair and Sinister Heart. One moment, 18-year-old Snow White is taking a bite of an apple. The next, she blinks and finds herself in an enchanted and dangerous dream world. As it turns out, the queen's poison did more than place Snow White in an eternal sleep. It sent her subconscious to the land of Daement, a world crafted from gems that is home to the queen's most sinister creations. After meeting others cursed by the queen, Snow White realizes the only way to save the people trapped and her kingdom in the real world is to embark on a quest to find the mythical ruby heart. Snow White and her new friends must work together as they face deadly trials on their journey. But there is something more wicked than the creatures made of gems, and the true danger could be closer than anyone thinks. Snow White will need to be careful because in Daement, nothing is what it seems. That's interesting. And this is what it looks like. Just plain hardcover. But that's interesting. So basically she's in a deep sleep and it's all in her head basically, and she has to come out of it. But I wonder if we will go into what's happening around her while she's asleep as well. Next one is A Strange Thing Happened in Cherry Hall. Okay, a painting has been stolen. When Rami sees a floating girl in the museum, he knows he has seen her somewhere before. Then he realizes she looks just like the girl in the painting that has gone missing. But how does her appearance connect to the theft? Agatha, the turtle, knows. She has been watching from the garden, but she can't exactly tell anyone, can she? Will Rami, with the help of his classmate Veda, be able to solve the mystery? The clues are all around them, but they'll have to be brave enough to really look. This is a whimsical, moving story about the universal desire to be seen and understood, and how art can help us find connection even when we are at our loneliest. So there must be something going on with the woman, clearly, that's in the painting, and it's probably more to the story. This is what the hardcover looks like. More to the story, and then there's the kids, which I'm assuming are these two, are going to find out this mystery. So sounds good. Strange Thing That Happened in Cherry Hall. All the Blues in the Sky. Sage's 13th birthday was supposed to be fun, staying up late with her best friend and watching the sunrise together. Instead, it was the day her best friend died. Without the person she had to hold her secrets and to dream with, Sage is lost. In a counseling group, she learns that not all losses are the same, and healing isn't predictable. And even as Sage grieves, good things enter her life. Steps taken toward her dream of becoming a pilot, new friends, a first kiss, and she just may find a way to know that she can feel it all. Renee Watson shares a beautiful, important story of a girl's journey to heal, grow, and forgive herself. To read it is to see how many shades there are in grief and to know that someone understands. So this might be a little triggering. I've experienced grief heavily. If you've seen my video of that I did a happy birthday to my brother Edison Hermond, I also went on a wine and chocolate tasting, and I'll link it above. But so now I know to approach this with caution. So good thing that I'm reading these synopses. Here is the Princess Swap with Sleeping Beauty and Snow White. What would happen if Sleeping Beauty was handed a poisoned apple and Snow White faced off against a dragon? As a baby, Rose was cursed to meet a mysterious fate on her 13th birthday, but no one bothered to tell Rose that until now, a week before she turns 13. And a week's not nearly enough time to figure out what to do when she suddenly whisked from her Dreamwood cottage to a strange palace trapped with an evil queen who hands her an apple. Princess Snow is preparing for the ceremony that will prove she's fit to rule her kingdom. The problem? Her wicked stepmother. The other problem? Without warning, she finds herself in the middle of the Dreamwood, where, on top of all her other problems, she has to worry about a sleeping curse. Happily Ever After couldn't feel farther away. Can Rose escape the curse that's followed her since birth? And can Snow save her kingdom from her stepmother? Interesting. And then the Princess Swap that's on the back, those princesses are Cinderella. It says Cinderella and the Beast. And then it says Beauty and the Glass Slipper. So that probably is interesting as well. All right. The Secret Library. Dally Pete Harrington yearns for adventure. Oh, wait, hold on. Minor transgressions, little white lies, deathbed confessions, family secrets. The library holds them all. Dally Pete Harrington yearns for adventure, but ever since her beloved grandfather died, her days are dull and predictable. That is, until she discovers that he left something behind for her. A map that leads to a library full of mysterious volumes. This is no ordinary library. Rather, each book is a portal to a precise moment in time, allowing its reader to travel to the past to experience a real-life secret. But soon, Dally learns that the library is much more than a fun place to explore. It has intentions for her that could transform her life forever. So that is very interesting. The books in the secret library will basically transport her to that time and place. And I thought it is so... Time traveling when it's written right in books is so fun and fascinating, and it makes you think like, oh, I wonder if that happened in real life, how it would turn out. So I'm excited for this one. All right, The Best Man, Unfinished Business. Recently divorced and fresh off a Pulitzer Prize win, Harper Stewart is in the new era. He's working on a movie and living the ultimate bachelor life in his Brooklyn penthouse, but still something is missing. What else explains the stubborn creative block, the carousel of women, and the seventh wheel status with his friends? Jordan Armstrong had to flee New York, first to give herself distance from Harper, and second to escape the corporate grind. In her beachfront Malibu home, the facade of a healed Jordan flourishes, yet she finds herself unmoored. Despite living across the country, she still feels Harper's magnetic pull. Meanwhile, in Ghana, Robin has gone full bohemian restaurateur. She has finally found peace and won't let another man ruin it. That is, until a handsome local entrepreneur commands her attention. But it's all too much change for her daughter, Mia. And when she recently calls Harper with an emergency, Robin would rather hide. The world is shaken and relationships are tested once more. Well, hold on, wait a minute. Let me read this again. Hold on. Because I'm thinking about, okay, wait a minute. Meanwhile in Ghana, Robin has gone full bohemian restaurateur. She has finally found peace and won't let another man ruin it. That is, until a handsome local entrepreneur commands her attention. But it's all too much change for her daughter, Mia, and when she secretly calls Harper with an emergency, Robin would rather hide. Their world is shaken and relationships are tested once more. Book 1 of the Best Man trilogy follows Harper, Jordan, and Robin as they try to establish lives away from the hurts of the past and come to realize that some love is impossible to break. With support from their close-knit crew of chosen family, Quentin, Shelby, Lance, Murch, and Candace, they fight for a future that proves one second act can be the extended chapter worth it all. So what I'm confused about is I could have sworn that Mia was the one that was married, that slept with Lance. No, Harper. Mia was the one that slept with Harper, and Harper is Lance's. Listen. Listen. So Mia, right? What was her name? What's her real name? I forgot her real name, the actress name. But basically, Lance is Morris Chestnut. Harper is Taye Diggs. Lance and Morris Chestnut is best friends, but Mia married Lance, right? But come to find out, Harper and Mia had a thing together. So how is Robin the mother of Mia? And then Robin in the movie, I want to say, was the one that was messing with, what's the cute light-skinned man? Terrence Howard. I want to say Robin was one. No, Robin was a stripper. I'm confused. No, Candace was a stripper because it tastes like candy. Ow. Okay, so Robin was the one that was messing with Terrence Howard. I've seen her face. Yes, she was light skinned. So what do you mean, Robin and Mia? See, this is why I'm just like, I really don't like watching a movie and reading the book.
So I was confused. I was mistaking Sanaa Lathan's character, which is Robin. I was thinking that was Shelby, the girl that played Shelby. And so really, even still, Mia is not the daughter of Robin, because that's Sanaa Lathan's character, who in the movie ends up dating Harper, which is Taye Diggs, for a little bit, because I remember she was in the kitchen cooking for him. And then even when he was blowing up on Mia, Sanaa Lathan was trying to like calm him down. And then Jordan, which is Nia Long's character, was trying to like speak some sense into him as well when it came to how he was reacting to Robin. And so Robin and Jordan was like a love triangle between between Taye Diggs' character. But I was confusing Shelby as Sanaa Lathan. So that's why I even confused myself some more. And then as I'm talking about it now, I'm still confusing y'all. I hope y'all understand what I'm talking about. Leave it in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, replay this back, because I don't know.
I've learned, because I've done that with anxious people. I think is what it's called. It was a TV show, but it was a book. The book was really good. And so I'm comparing the book off of the TV show, and the TV show wasn't delivering like the book was. And so I'm just like, huh, with the Twilight, I never read any of the books. I've only watched the movies. And so whenever I try to do this, what is that book? Kindred. That's a book, and it became a Hulu TV series. I didn't really like Kindred the book, but the series, it was just off. It was off-putting. And I get it. I don't get it. I don't get it, because it's like you have the manuscript. Go based off of that. Just bring me the visuals. And so I hope that this new book of Children of Blood and Bone, I hope the movie that comes out, I hope it does a lot of service, because I got to get through that book. And I'm off topic. I'm rambling, I know. But I got to get through that series. But I enjoyed the first book. And so I'm going with expectation. And this is another reason why I'm like, I don't really read the synopsis, because I'm going in with expectations. And if it's not making sense to me, if it's not going off of what's right here, I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right, blah, blah, blah. And so I hope that Children of Blood and Bone, the movie, I hope that it doesn't distract from the book, because the book is good as it is, and I'm pretty sure the second and the third one is as well. I gotta get through those, but I don't want the book to kind of like veer off from, I don't want the movie to veer off from the book. And so with this, having Robin and Mia, I know Mia is the one that, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't watched. By now you should have watched Best Man Holiday. She dies, right? While Lance is playing football. That's not a spoiler, because that movie been out for how long now? But anyways, Mia, she never had a mom in there in the movie. And so what do you mean Robin is the mother? I don't know. We'll get into it. We'll see. Okay. On again, awkward again. Love is so awkward. When Pacey and Cecil spot each other during their first week of freshman year, it's love at first sight. Well, more like love at first fleeting, injury-riddled glance, since the moment is ruined thanks to clumsiness in a criminal case of IBS. Despite their total lack of game, Pacey and Cecil are drawn to each other. 7 seconds of eye contact turns into days of yearning and stress as they make the mistake of following misguided advice from their friends, dysfunctional families, and strangers on the internet. But the universe conspires to bring Pacey and Cecil together when they both end up on the committee to plan their freshman dance. As they spend more time together, they realize that the other person might be just what they need. That is, if they can figure out how to be themselves and embrace the mishaps, mistakes, and hilariously awkward interactions that make up their imperfectly perfect love story. So that's kind of cute. Both people are awkward. And it's a matter of who's going to talk to who first, who's going to initiate first. And then it seems like they're taking the advice from those around them, and then they're not giving good advice. So this is kind of a cutesy love story is what I'm getting from this book. Okay, we have 3 more, okay? Sometimes I lie. Amber Reynolds wakes up in a hospital. She can't move. She can't speak. She can't open her eyes. She can hear everyone around her, but they have no idea. Amber doesn't remember what happened to her, but she has a sneaking suspicion her husband has something to do with it. Or her sister. Or maybe both. Terrified and trapped inside her own body, she slowly begins to remember a night that changed her life. Is she in a coma due to an accident? Is her sister having an affair with her husband? What happened at work with her horrible boss? And who is the person who is silently visiting her bedside each night? Sometimes I Lie is a brilliant psychological thriller that asks, is something really a lie if you believe it's the truth? That sounds good. And now, as I was reading that, I do remember what I was reading in the short few pages that I did read was the husband. She was so, it seemed like off the gate she was kind of like leery about the husband. So this seems good. I'm excited to read this too. The Surrogate Mother by Frida McFadden. She was promised a miracle. She got more than she bargained for. Abby wants a baby more than anything. But after years of failed infertility treatments and adoptions that have fallen through, it seems like motherhood is not in her future. That is, until her personal assistant, Monica, makes a generous offer to serve as a surrogate. It's an offer that will make all of Abby's dreams come true, but soon strange things start happening, and it turns out Monica isn't who she says she is. The woman now carrying Abby's child has an unspeakable secret, and she will stop at nothing to get what she wants. That sounds interesting. From what I've seen, just from TV shows, movies, of when it comes to about a surrogate mother, is that usually they seem on board with it, and then all of a sudden they're asking for more money, or they're wanting the husband, or and then knowing Frida McFadden, ain't no telling what's gonna happen with this. Even based off of that, that really ain't giving me anything to go off of. It's just that, okay, the surrogate mother has a secret, but I anticipate there's going to be a lot of twists and turns, and I anticipate that it's going to seem like you know what's going on, but you don't really know what's going on. So I'm excited to get into this one as well. And then our last book is Death of the Author. Disabled, disinclined to marry, and more interested in writing than a lucrative career in medicine or law, Zilu has always felt like the outcast of her large Nigerian family. Then her life is upended at her sister's lavish Caribbean wedding when she's unceremoniously fired from her university job, and to add insult to injury, her most recent book is rejected by yet another publisher. With her career and dreams crushed in one fell swoop, she decides to write something just for herself. What comes out is nothing like the quiet literary novels that have peppered her unremarkable career. It's a far future epic where androids and AI wage war in the grown over ruins of human civilization. She calls it Rusted Robots. When Zilu finds the courage to share her strange story, she does not realize she is about to embark on a life-altering journey. One that will catapult her into literary stardom, but also perhaps obliterate everything her book was meant to be. From Chicago to Lagos to the outer reaches of space, Zilu's novel will change the future not only for humanity, but also for the robots who come next. A book within a book that blurs the line between writing and being written, Death of the Author is a masterpiece of metafiction that manages to combine the razor-sharp commentary of Yellowface with the heartfelt humanity of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Surprisingly funny, deeply poignant, and endlessly discussable, this is at once the tale of a woman on the margins, risking everything to be heard, and a testament to the power of storytelling to shape the world as we know it. So this, first off, this cover looks amazing. Sprayed edges again. I like this hardback cover, and then even on the inside you have this design. So this is interesting. Like I said, I want to devote all my attention to this when I do start reading it again. I obviously will start it over, but I like this. I like this. Cover what got me, author what got me, and now reading the synopsis is probably what's going to keep me. So that, I noticed I didn't show you the hardback of these, but they're just plain. That's the awkward, about the awkward teenage couple, and then all the blues in the sky, they're very plain, which I guess the hardcovers are not. It's okay that it's plain. We have this one, but I kind of prefer more like Death of the Author, where the hardcover is designed, because when I'm reading, like when I start reading this book, I'm taking the cover or this sleeve off, and so I'm gonna be reading it like this, and I like to see something that's pretty as well. And so I appreciate when people that have hardcovers, they put time and effort in designing the hardcovers as well, because I'm not reading with the sleeve because I don't want it to get mashed up or dented or anything like that.
So in editing, I realized that I never did do a synopsis for Spectacular. So here it goes. Snowflakes are falling, invitations are arriving, holiday magic is swirling. It's Great Holiday Eve. Scarlet Dragna is planning a spectacular holiday celebration for the city. Donatella is searching for the perfect gift. Julian is looking ridiculously handsome in green, and sadly, Legend is not fond of the great holiday. Tella is hoping her perfect gift will change his mind. Unfortunately, she hasn't found this perfect gift just yet. But it is Great Holiday Eve. Surely there's some holiday magic swirling around. Set after Stephanie Garber's #1 New York Times best-selling Caravel series, this delightful novella will take readers on the ultimate holiday adventure full of clockwork boys, poison candy, impish snow globes, merriment, and if Tella gets her way, love. Gorgeously illustrated by Rosie Fowinkle, Spectacular is a perfect book for collectors, readers, dreamers, and lovers of holiday magic. Welcome, welcome back to the world of Caraval, where even holidays aren't as they seem.
So that was all the books that is in my book haul, and I told you how I choose books when I'm purchasing books, being that I do not read the synopsis. I am glad that you all stayed to the end. Let me know what books of these that I've shown that you've read yourself and what you rated it. I'm curious to know. And what book do you think I should start first? From all these books, which book should I start first? Or give me about maybe 2 or 3 books that I should read immediately. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all for watching. This is Alicia, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.